Hey there everyone, and welcome to this week's Scoreboard. We have a great episode for you. I'm of course your host, Conrad Iacobellis. Brent Martindale is going to be talking to Matt Carlson, the Park City High School volleyball coach. I'm going to be heading up to UOP to hear about them being open up for the summer. And then we're going to hear from Chris Gilbertson, the head coach for ski jumping of the USA Nordic combined team. He's returning after a 7-year hiatus. But before we get into all that fun stuff, we're going to take some time to do some quick rundown of some sports news. Unfortunately for local sports news, there are some 3 big summer tournaments that have been canceled or postponed. The first one, the Park City Extreme Cup, we showed you guys where it was going to be last week. Unfortunately, they have decided to cancel it for this year. The Town Shootout, that is the lacrosse tournament. Right now, it's set for August 7th and August 8th, but it still may be canceled. It was supposed to take place later July. They're trying to push it back to August, but it still may be canceled. And then the Triple Crown World Series, that is baseball and softball, the big tournament that takes place up here in Park City, has been canceled. So again, the Park City Extreme Cup has been canceled. The Town Shootout may be postponed, if not canceled. Triple Crown World Series has definitely been canceled. So that's a little bit of news. 3 of the bigger summer sports events taking place here in Park City that have been canceled. But one thing you still can do is you still can head up to UOP. So let's go head up to UOP right now and hear about how you can have fun there this summer.
So we've actually migrated away from our all-day ticketing option. We only offer 2-hour sessions for our jump side and our Trackside Pass, which will come online this weekend. That's the first thing that we've done. So we only allow 150 patrons in every session, and then we allow for an hour or a half hour in between both of those so we can clean and sanitize everything in between. We've done sanitation measures on the Alpine slide and the tubing lanes. And when you arrive, you'll actually get a helmet for all your adventure activities that you will keep for the rest of the day. And then those will be sanitized as soon as we're done with the sessions. So we're sanitizing in between every Alpine slide run, every extreme tubing run, and we're making sure that people stay physically distanced while they're in lines. And now with the new county health order and everything, we're requiring you to wear a mask while you're in line, while you're in any buildings, and while you're within 6 feet of our employees. And that's just to help keep our employees safe and also keep our patrons safe. Once you come into the Quinney Welcome Center, if you do not have a mask, so you're traveling from out of town or you just forgot it on your way out, we have those masks for sale at the front desk for just $1. So with the 2-hour session, there's only so many activities that you can do within each session. So we're keeping it to 150 people. We're keeping it to just the 5 activities on our jump side. So when you buy a jump side pass, you get extreme zip line, freestyle zip line, discovery course, extreme tubing, and the Alpine slide. You can do all of those within that 2-hour session. And then on our Trackside Pass, which starts this weekend, you can do summit, canyon course, and airbag jumps. Now you can do those for unlimited times during that 2-hour session. So if you're not a fan of the extreme zip line, you can go up and do the Alpine slide again, or you can do extreme tubing a few times if you'd like. The only requirement that we have is that when you come up to ride our lift chairs to go up to some of the attractions, that if you're in the same household, you can ride on the same chair. But if you're not from the same household, we do ask that you stagger chairs so you don't all sit on the same chair going up to the top of the mountain. So you can come up and see if we have any availability, but since we're on that 150 person per session model, we're seeing right now especially that it's selling out days ahead of time. So if you don't get here and you don't do that ticketing ahead of time, you may be turned away for that session. But the good thing is we have 3 sessions every day. So if you don't get in one session, you might be able to get in another one. Yeah, so the Summer Jump Side Pass includes access to Alpine Slide, Extreme Tubing, Extreme Zipline, Freestyle Zipline, and the Discovery Course. So it's all things that are located over by the Nordic ski jumps that were used by the 2002 games. So that's why we dubbed it the Jump Side Pass. We're going to listen to county health officials. We'll be doing mostly the same thing throughout the summer. We may or may not reduce the requirement for mask usage and queue lines and things like that if the curve starts to go down. But we're going to follow all county guidelines, and then we might do just a few steps above that just because we feel like we can really set an example for everybody and make sure that our patrons and our employees are super safe while they're here. You know, we've got a restricted number of people and activities are limited during this time. We do ask that you show up about 15 minutes prior to that reservation session. We want to get you checked in, we want to make sure you have a mask, and we want to make sure that we can still educate you on all the other requirements that go along with that, such as going through our museums. We have one-way traffic in our museums to follow, and a mask requirement in all buildings. So we just want to make sure you get here early, we get your passes, we educate you, and then we make sure that you can go get in those queue lines before your required start time, just so you have a better experience and you can get that full 2-hour session in.
We hope you guys have fun watching that. Now we'll be right back after this commercial break with more of Scoreboard. Welcome back to the Scoreboard, everyone. I'm Conrad Iacobellis. Earlier today, I had an interview with Chris Gilbertson. He's returning to the USA Nordic Combined Team, head coaching the ski jumping section. And so we're going to hear about him returning to the sport of ski jumping after a 7-year hiatus. Welcome everybody to the Scoreboard. I'm Conrad Iacobellis. We have another interview for you right now. We are joined by Chris Gilbertson. He is the new ski jumping coach for USA Nordic Combined. Chris, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So you are returning to coaching after a 7-year hiatus. What made the decision to come back into coaching?
Well, I've been talking with Bill DeMong, the executive director, for a little bit, and I had expressed my interest getting back into the sport. My son has been jumping, so it's not like I left, but I wanted to get back at a higher level again, and the cards fell in the right spot. And so Nick Hendrickson called me a couple weeks ago and said, "Hey, do you want to be the World Cup coach?" And I said, "Yeah, it's a little bit more than I was planning, but let's do it."
And you are taking over for ski jumping. Have you had experience with ski jumping before, or do you just mostly have a background overall in skiing, and this is just a field that is something that's going to be easy for you to get back into?
Yeah, so I have been a coach. I'd been the jumping coach for close to 17 years. I spent 7 years with the U.S. ski team. I was the coach in 2010 with the Nordic Combined guys when we won our first medals. And I was there for World Championships in 2009 and 2013. So it's pretty familiar to me. The biggest change is not so much technique, but some of the equipment. But I feel like we've got a good program for the special jumpers now. They've really got a handle on the suits. So that's always been our Achilles heel, and I feel like now that's all changed. So it should be just like stepping back in. I just need to get familiar with some of the younger guys, because the only guy that I've really coached was Taylor Fletcher, who's still on the team.
Yeah, you have quite an extensive history. You've coached for 17 years. You have led athletes to 5 World Championship medals, and you have 4 historic Olympic medals. How do you go on and replicating that success after 7 years of being off?
It's pretty daunting. I'm a little bit scared of it, actually. But I feel like, we've got the talent in the new guys. Just trying to take it step by step. The first key is to start qualifying for events. That's been kind of a struggle for some of the guys. You go and you have to make the cut and actually to get into the competition. So the first one is going to be, we got to get in the competition on a regular basis. That has to be an afterthought. Then we start getting top 30s and top 20s and then top 10s, and then we'll start looking at medals. And that's really the ultimate goal in my mind, is getting medals by 2026.
Now, how competitive, how difficult is ski jumping? Is this a sport that is easy to learn, or something that it's going to take a while for maybe some of the newer skiers to get used to?
Oh, well, I mean, when you say newer skiers, I mean, I'm dealing with guys that have been skiing for 12 plus years right now. So they already know how to ski. They know how to jump. It's just refining some of those skills. But for somebody that's never done it before, it's pretty it's a challenge. there's a lot of fear involved that you have to overcome when you're actually learning new skills. And there's a lot of technique that's learned poorly because it's safer than doing it correctly in the beginning. And then once you master that skill, then it's actually safer to do it than doing the poor skills.
Now, you said that you want to hopefully replicate your success by 2026. Is that your number one goal going into ski jumping coach?
Yeah, ultimately, I mean, that's always the goal, right? You want to win world championship medals and you want to win Olympic medals. That's the bottom line. That's what everyone's always asking about. That's what sponsors want. That's why they're putting money in. And quite frankly, that's why the guys are there. It's not just to make a world championship team or to make the ski team or to make an Olympic team. You want to have guys that want to win medals. I mean, we're not there to take vacations.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something where, playing a sport, especially one that maybe, you only get big competitions every, couple of years, you want to win. That is your goal. It's not to, well, we had a good run. It's, no, I want to be the best right now, and I want to continue that success. What do you think is going to be the hardest transition after 7 years of being off?
I think just learning the guys more than anything. And because I was in it before, I coached a lot of those guys at different stages of their careers. I kind of helped Billy and Johnny get onto the national team, and I'd seen them on and off. I'd known Lodwick forever, and I knew Brett and Eric Camerata also. So I kind of knew all those guys. This new group, just really learning and figuring out what makes them tick and how do you motivate those guys? Do you need to have a hand on the shoulder, or do you need a kick in the butt?
Oh, totally. I mean, it doesn't matter what sport you play. Athletes all have different personalities. Athletes all have different ways of trying to motivate them. Coach, thank you so much for joining us today on the Scoreboard, and congratulations to joining USA Ski after 7 years.
Thank you very much.
All right, everybody, that was Chris Gilbertson, again, the new head coach for the USA Ski Jumping Nordic Combined. We'll be back here on Park City TV, everybody, after this break.
And hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Scoreboard. I'm Brent Martindale. I'm very happy to have with us today in this showing of times remotely interviewing Matt Carlson, the head volleyball coach at Park City High School. Matt, thank you so much for joining us here on the Scoreboard.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Hey, we are thrilled to have you to talk a little bit about your season, your players, obviously. But first, we would love to get to know Matt Carlson. Tell us just a little bit about you, Matt, your volleyball experience, your coaching experience.
Yeah, so we grew up in Chicago, where volleyball is pretty big out there in the Midwest. We grew up playing since I was 6 years old. Where we lived, it was kind of a really big deal. I mean, we had a lot of professional players in the area, and so grew up playing volleyball and soccer. And then family moved out here when I was in high school, and so I've been in Utah ever since then. But played a little bit of soccer here. I played a year of soccer at Westminster, and then came back and then played a couple of years at the University of Utah with my brother, volleyball. So it's just been part of our DNA and part of our livelihood. So just
okay. And that makes something we have in common. I was on the club team way back in 88, 89. So
nice.
I think you were probably in grade school at that time. But now, but I know they have a very competitive men's club league, and so you were able to do that. And then coaching. What on earth made you go into coaching?
So my brother got me involved with the sport. He's 6 years older than I am. He's the head coach at Lone Peak High School right now, but he had a family friend that asked him to coach volleyball and girls volleyball at that, right? And he kept rejecting him, saying no, and then finally he said yes, and then he did it for a year, so it was pretty fun. And he's like, "Hey Matt, you need to come join me and coach in girls volleyball." I said, "Absolutely not. I don't want to coach girls volleyball." We grew up playing boys and men's leagues, and he's like, "Just give it a try 1 year," and then we were hooked ever since. So been coaching the last 14 years.
Well, and 14 years, I mean, that's amazing that you're only 22 years old and you've been coaching 14 years. So
that's right. Thank you.
So, okay. So your coaching started at one of those high schools, you say, with your brother?
No, so it was actually club. We started coaching club first. And
Okay.
then within a few years, I was asked to go coach at Judge Memorial Catholic High School. So I started my high school coaching career at Judge.
Gotcha. Okay. And then you started at Park City 6 years ago?
6 years ago, yep, in 2014.
Now, if that isn't enough, I'm sure you have another full-time job. I'm not sure, but you also run one of the biggest and, of course, most successful clubs in the state of Utah, Club V.
Mhm.
How many kids?
Yeah, well, depends on pre-COVID or after COVID, right? So,
Let's talk pre-COVID. What you
Yeah.
were at your bulging biggest time?
Yeah, so we feel very fortunate enough to be able to, coach full time in the off season with club. And so this past year, between our boys and girls teams, we've had about 120 teams in the club.
Wow.
It's just an awesome opportunity to reach as many kids and just try to help change lives and get kids falling in love with the sport that helped shape our lives.
Well, and Matt, I'm not trying to embarrass you or anything, but I just always hear nothing but great things about Club V and your kids, and you must do a great job, obviously, not just with the kids, but you got to have good coaches. And I know that's hard sometimes to find quality coaches. And so what's it like finding coaches? You've obviously done a great job finding good quality coaches.
And you're absolutely right. The quality of the club is based on the quality of the coaches. And we've been very fortunate enough to have just great coaches work with us and learn from them as well as learn from each other. It's tough. I mean, you get a lot of these athletes, that play at BYU or grew up playing the game and they move into Utah. And so just trying to get them early on in our club system has been always a challenge. And to try to keep them as well, part of the club is a challenge because they move on or they start different ventures or clubs. So, but we've been very fortunate enough to get some good quality coaches.
And along with that, the obvious sizes of the number of kids you have two different facilities. Is that right? Or do you have more than that?
Yeah, we actually have 2 permanent locations and a third satellite location in Draper. So we have a facility in North Salt Lake and in Linden, and then we have a satellite location in Draper.
Okay, well, so some of those kids come right from your high school, Park City. So let's talk about that, right? About your high school season. We know there's a lot of people watching that are really interested in your success in the community in Park City. Tell us a little bit about your season. You've had some great success, including a state championship.
Yeah, it was the most amazing experience bringing home the first state championship for Park City in school history. We had some amazing, talented athletes at the time, and in 2017 we played Skyview in the finals, and it was just the most surreal feeling. It was the first state championship for me, and obviously for Park City. So it's just amazing to be part of that community and have that community support. Just nothing's like Park City help and support. It was just a lot of fun and great experience.
Well, I was there too. I saw it and I remember watching it. So now, and then you've had continued success as well. So tell us a little bit about what's happened since then. And of course, this past season, you had your first inaugural 5A season. You jumped right in and knocked it out of the park. Tell us a little about that.
Yeah, so 2018, we got back to the state finals, and unfortunately, we lost. We had an epic 5-set thriller against a now 5A foe in Lehigh. Phenomenal team. We had 5 sets, lost, or we ended up winning 18-16 in the 5th set. Just gas, and then we turned around and played the state finals an hour later, and we just didn't have enough in the tank to bring it home. So we ended up winning that one. And then,
I remember watching that one too. I remember seeing that one too.
Oh, that was a heartbreaker because we felt like we just underperformed, and the girls gave their best effort. But hey, that's sports, right?
Yeah.
Then we went from 4 to 5A, and the jump is huge. It's every team is good in 5A, a lot more deep, I should say. And it was a battle every match. In region, out of region, it was tough. We finished losing in the quarterfinals to a region foe actually in Salem Hills, losing a 5-setter. And end up finishing 6th place, losing to Timview, who's a phenomenal program as well.
Yeah.
It was a good. We're excited for this upcoming season. We feel like we have a lot of returners back. We feel like this could be our year.
Now, I knew that, of course, because you guys pounded on us a couple of times.
Yeah.
So let's do that. Let's talk about your kids. Now, I understand, if I remember correctly, you only had a couple of seniors, 2 or 3 maybe. And like you say, I remember the scouting report was lots of players coming back this year. But so tell us a little bit about the kids this past season and the group that you have coming in.
Yeah, so we lost 4 seniors.
Okay,
And
that's right.
it's always hard to lose some, amazing seniors we had last year and every year. The nice thing is, this year we have some really talented young athletes who now will be, upperclassmen with juniors and seniors. We have a really deep class this year. Last year I felt we were deep, but not as deep as I think we are this year, with a lot of just really high-end talented individuals. We have athletes are have committed to D1 schools this year, or have offers from D1 schools. That can play a huge part, for our success this year.
Now, we got about a minute left here, Matt. And again, we'll talk with you more as the season goes on. We'll get another update on things. But, this whole COVID thing, I know you've mentioned that. It's just a hard topic, and everyone is having to deal with it. Tell me a little bit about how you and your players have dealt with it this year.
It's tough. We try to make sure that we have an outlet for athletes to, for their mental health, to just have places where they can practice, places where they can go and just have that mental health side where they're out there either practicing on their own with different videos or having Zoom calls. Right now we're able to do some open gyms, and so getting the athletes in the gym again, just getting them touching a ball, just getting around each other, obviously not too close, but just getting them playing again, and just having that camaraderie come back. It's definitely been a challenge.
Do the kids seem still motivated? Did you see any frustration, or how do you think they're doing?
Yeah, I think they're way more motivated now. I think the break for most athletes was so powerful in terms of just having that reset button, because most of these athletes have been playing year round and without any sort of break. So having that 8-week break was great for their body. So a lot of them come back just really hungry to work hard. But at the same time, a lot of them, they're a little rusty for sure.
For sure. Well, and tell me maybe really quickly, who do you expect to be real good in the Region 8? The Region 8, of course, perennially has been one of the toughest in the state every year. Who do you think is looking good this year?
I'll be honest. I think Salem Hills is one of the teams to beat this year. I think they'll do really well. They're going to be a great program. They have a lot of returners coming back, and they have a couple freshmen that we know of personally that are phenomenal.
Yep.
So,
Okay, well, Matt Carlson, Park City High School girls volleyball coach, we thank you so much for being with us. This won't be the only conversation we have, Matt. We're going to be able to talk a little bit coming up as the season starts. We'll do maybe another visit and see the progress, and we'll be able to watch your success.
Awesome. Thank you, Brent. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, everyone, for watching this week's Scoreboard. I hope you enjoyed everything you saw. We had some somber news at the top half, but we still saw some of the fun activities you can do this summer. Again, thank you so much to my co-host, Brent Martindale, for that interview as well. I hope all of you enjoyed. I hope all of you stay safe this weekend, this holiday weekend, and I will see you guys next weekend. Kisses, hugs, belly rubs, everybody. Take care.